The fire started quietly, almost unnoticed amidst the usual chaos of Manila's Tondo district. It was just a flicker at first, perhaps from a faulty electrical wire. Within minutes, the flames were leaping from shack to shack, fueled by flimsy wood and tarpaulin constructions. The fire quickly transformed into a raging inferno, devouring everything in its wake. Panicked residents scrambled to escape, desperate to save themselves and whatever meagre possessions they could carry. The fire raged for hours, its orange glow visible for miles across the city's skyline. By the time the flames were finally subdued, the devastation was absolute. Thousands of homes were reduced to ashes, leaving behind a smouldering wasteland. In the immediate aftermath of the fire, the true scale of the tragedy became agonizingly clear. Thousands of families were left homeless, their lives upended in a single night of terror and destruction. The fire had claimed not only their homes, but also their livelihoods, their meagre belongings, and for many, their sense of hope. Children wandered through the wreckage, their eyes wide with bewilderment and fear, searching for familiar landmarks that no longer existed. Stories of loss and hardship emerged from the ashes. Ailing Nena, a street vendor who had lost everything, wept as she recounted how she'd been saving for months to buy her daughter a new school uniform. Mang Huan, a construction worker, despaired over the loss of his tools, his only means of supporting his family. The fire had exposed the raw vulnerability of these communities, living precariously on the margins of society, one misfortune away from utter destitution. As news of the fire spread, a wave of sympathy and support poured in from across the city and beyond. Local authorities, aid organizations, and ordinary citizens mobilized to provide relief to the displaced families. Makeshift evacuation centers were set up in schools, gymnasiums, and government buildings, providing temporary shelter, food, water, and medical attention. Donations of clothing, blankets, and other essential items arrived by the truckload, a testament to the spirit of generosity that often emerges in times of crisis. However, the sheer scale of the disaster strained the capacity of relief efforts. The evacuation centers were overcrowded and lacked basic amenities. Many fire survivors complained of inadequate sanitation, limited access to clean water, and long queues for food and medical attention. The government promised swift action to rebuild homes and provide financial assistance. But for many fire victims, the promises rang hollow. They had heard it all before, empty assurances that often failed to translate into tangible improvements in their lives. Section 4. The crushing weight of poverty and neglect. The Tondo fire was not merely a natural disaster. It was a stark reminder of the deep-seated inequalities and systemic failures that plague Philippine society. The fire had exposed the chronic lack of affordable housing in Manila, forcing thousands of families to live in cramped, unsafe, and unsanitary conditions. It had highlighted the inadequate infrastructure in these informal settlements, with their narrow alleys, lack of fire hydrants, and poorly constructed homes, making them highly susceptible to fires. The fire had also laid bare the cycle of poverty and neglect that trapped generations of Filipinos in precarious living conditions. Many of the fire victims had migrated from rural areas in search of better opportunities in the city, only to find themselves living in overcrowded slums, working low-wage jobs, and struggling to make ends meet. Their vulnerability to disasters was compounded by their lack of access to basic services, social safety nets, and legal protections. Section 5. Hope amidst the ruins. Amidst the smouldering ruins and palpable despair, there were glimmers of hope and resilience. The spirit of Bayanihan shone brightly as neighbors helped neighbors and communities came together to rebuild. From the ashes, a renewed determination arose to create a better future. The Tondo fire was a wake-up call for sustainable solutions to the housing crisis. It underscored the need for fire prevention, infrastructure upgrades, and affordable housing. The road to recovery would be long, but the spirit and hope of the Filipino people offered a beacon of light.